The answer came out so casually that it took a moment for everyone to process the magnitude of what had just been said. I've been living on the streets for 16 years, ever since I got lost when I was 3. 19-year-old Mia Rodriguez had answered Steve Harvey's question about family with the matter-of-fact tone of someone who had long ago accepted an impossible reality. But what no one in the studio knew was that at the opposing podium, 30 feet away, stood a family who had been searching for a lost 3-year-old girl named Mia for exactly 16 years. And in the next few minutes, a game show would transform into something that would challenge everyone's understanding of fate, family, and the incredible power of never giving up hope. It started as another Wednesday afternoon taping in Atlanta. The makeshift family of Mia and her friend Jake faced off against the Williams family from Phoenix. Mia Rodriguez was exactly the kind of contestant that made producers nervous. 19 years old, clearly having lived a hard life with the kind of street-smart confidence that came from surviving on her own since childhood. She wore clothes that were clean but clearly secondhand, and everything about her suggested someone who had learned to take care of herself when no one else would. Jake Martinez, 21, stood beside her as her chosen family member for the show. They had met in a youth shelter 3 years ago and had been inseparable ever since, creating their own version of family when the traditional version had failed them both. At the opposing podium stood the Williams family from Phoenix, Robert and Carol Williams, both in their late 40s, with their 2 sons, Michael, 17, and David, 15. But there was something about the Williams family that caught Steve Harvey's attention immediately. Despite their smiles and enthusiasm, there was an underlying sadness in their eyes, particularly Carol's, that suggested a family carrying a profound loss. During family introductions, Steve had been immediately drawn to Mia's unique situation. "And who do we have here?" Steve had asked, approaching their podium with his trademark warmth. "I'm Mia Rodriguez, and this is Jake Martinez. We're from Los Angeles, California." Mia and Jake. "Now, I gotta ask, are you two related?" "Not by blood," Mia had replied with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "But Jake's the closest thing to family I've got." "That's beautiful. What's your story, Mia? Where's your family?" Mia had hesitated for just a moment, and Jake had stepped closer to her in support. "I don't really have a traditional family, Mr. Harvey. It's just been me and Jake for the past few years." Steve had sensed there was more to the story, but he had moved on to introduce the Williams family. And over here, we have the Williams family from Phoenix. Robert, Carol, Michael, and David. Beautiful family. Tell me about yourselves. Robert Williams had stepped forward, but Steve noticed how Carol kept one protective hand on each of her sons, as if afraid they might disappear. "We're just a regular family from Phoenix," Robert had said. "Been married 22 years, blessed with 2 amazing boys." "That's wonderful, Carol. You look like a proud mama." Carol had smiled, but there was something fragile about it. "These boys are my world, Mr. Harvey. Family is everything to us." Now, 4 rounds into the game, those 2 seemingly unrelated stories were about to collide in a way that would leave everyone in the studio speechless. The Williams family was leading by 30 points heading into the final round. Steve was in his element, making jokes about Jake's surprisingly strategic thinking and David Williams's tendency to give overly detailed answers. The category was things that make you feel safe. It was Mia's turn at the podium. She had stepped forward with the kind of careful confidence that suggested someone who had learned to trust very few people in life. "All right, Mia, things that make you feel safe. What do you think?" Mia gripped the podium, and for the first time all day her street-tough facade began to crack. "Having someone who won't leave you," she said, her voice carrying 16 years of accumulated abandonment. The answer was number 1 on the board, worth 32 points. Jake cheered and high-fived her, but Mia hadn't moved from the microphone. She was looking around the studio with an expression that seemed to be searching for something she had been looking for her entire life. "Mia," Steve said, approaching the podium, "having someone who won't leave you. That's powerful. Tell me about that." That's when Mia's composure broke completely. "Mr. Harvey, I've been alone for so long that I sometimes forget what it feels like to have people who actually care about you." The studio audience was beginning to sense they were witnessing something much deeper than a game show answer. "How long have you been alone, sweetheart?" "Since I was 3 years old." I got separated from my family at a carnival in Phoenix. I've been in foster care, group homes, on the streets, 16 years of looking for people who probably stopped looking for me a long time ago. The studio fell into the kind of silence that comes when people realize they're witnessing something heartbreaking. But at the Williams family podium, something extraordinary was happening. Carol Williams had gone completely white. Her hand flew to her mouth and she grabbed her husband's arm with the other. "Robert," she whispered, but her wireless microphone picked it up. Did she say Phoenix? Did she say she was 3? Steve noticed the commotion at the Williams podium. "Mrs. Williams, you okay over there?" Carol was staring at Mia with an expression of shocked recognition. "Mr. Harvey, our daughter Mia was 3 years old when we lost her at the state fair in Phoenix. That was 16 years ago." The studio erupted in gasps and murmurs. Steve looked between the two families, beginning to understand that he might be witnessing something unprecedented. "Your daughter's name was Mia?" "Mia Elena Williams," Robert said, his voice shaking. "She disappeared on October 15th, 2007 at the Arizona State Fair." Mia had frozen at the podium. That's my birthday. October 15th. But I don't remember my last name being Williams. Steve Harvey had hosted thousands of shows, but this was uncharted territory. This was potentially witnessing a family reunion 16 years in the making. "Mia, do you remember anything about the day you got lost?" "Just pieces. Cotton candy, bright lights, getting separated in a crowd, a man in a uniform finding me crying. After that, everything's a blur of different homes and different families." Carol Williams was crying now, openly and desperately. She loved cotton candy. It was the first thing she wanted when we got to the fair. "Mrs. Williams," Steve said gently, "what did your daughter look like?" "Dark hair, brown eyes. She had a birthmark on her left shoulder, shaped like a crescent moon." Everyone in the studio turned to look at Mia, who slowly rolled up the sleeve of her shirt, revealing a crescent-shaped birthmark on her left shoulder. The studio erupted. Audience members were crying, the Williams family was sobbing, and Jake was staring at Mia in complete shock. "Mia," Steve said, his own voice thick with emotion, "do you remember anything else about your family?" Mia closed her eyes as if trying to access memories she had buried long ago. "I remember a woman singing to me at night, something about a mockingbird. I remember a man who smelled like coffee and aftershave. I remember 2 boys who were always fighting over toys." Michael and David Williams looked at each other in shock. "Mom used to sing Mockingbird to all of us," Michael said. "And Dad has drunk the same coffee and used the same aftershave for 20 years, David added. Behind the scenes, a producer made a decision that would define this moment forever. Keep the cameras rolling. Let America witness what might be the most incredible family reunion in television history. "Mia," Steve said, "I need to ask you something. What do you want right now?" Mia looked at the Williams family, then at Jake, then back at Steve. "I want to know if these people are my family, but I'm scared. What if they're not? What if I get my hopes up and it's just a coincidence?" Carol Williams stepped forward from her podium. "Sweetheart, may I ask you something?" Mia nodded. "Do you have any scars, any other marks we might recognize?" Mia hesitated, then pulled up her pant leg slightly, revealing a small scar on her knee. "I don't remember how I got it." Robert Williams let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "You fell off your tricycle the week before the fair. 3 stitches." The studio was witnessing something extraordinary. Piece by piece, memory by memory, 16 years of separation were being bridged by details that could not be coincidental. Steve pulled out his cell phone. "I'm calling my producers. We need to get DNA testing arranged immediately. But more importantly, I'm calling social services to get proper verification and support for this situation." The first call was to Dr. Sarah Martinez, a family reunification specialist Steve had worked with before. "Dr. Martinez, this is Steve Harvey. I believe we have a family reunification situation happening live on my show. A girl who's been missing for 16 years may have just found her biological family." The conversation lasted several minutes, with Steve taking notes and asking questions. After the call, Steve approached both families. Here's what's going to happen. Dr. Martinez is arranging for immediate DNA testing and proper psychological support for everyone involved, but I want to ask you all something first. He turned to the Williams family. If Mia is your daughter, are you prepared for the fact that she's been through trauma and experiences that no child should have to endure? We never stopped looking for her, Carol said firmly. We never stopped loving her. We've been prepared for this moment for 16 years. Steve turned to Mia. If these are your parents, are you prepared for the fact that they never gave up on you, that they've been searching for you your entire life? Mia was crying now, but they were tears of hope rather than pain. Mr. Harvey, I've dreamed of this moment every single day for 16 years. Even when I convinced Mensik it would never happen, I still dreamed about it. Steve looked at Jake, who had been quietly supportive throughout the entire revelation. Jake, how are you feeling about all this? Jake smiled through his own tears. Mr. Harvey, Mia's been my sister for 3 years. If she gets her real family back, that doesn't change what we mean to each other. I'm just happy she might finally get the answer she's been looking for. The studio audience was openly emotional now. This wasn't just about a missing child being found. This was about the power of hope, the strength of family bonds, and the incredible resilience of the human spirit. 3 hours later, the DNA results came back positive. Mia Elena Rodriguez was indeed Mia Elena Williams, the daughter who had been lost at the Arizona State Fair 16 years ago. The reunion that followed was unlike anything ever captured on television. Carol Williams held her daughter for the first time in 16 years, both of them sobbing with relief and joy. Robert Williams wrapped his arms around both of them, while Michael and David stood by in amazement at having their sister back. But the most beautiful moment came when Mia turned to Jake and said, Jake, meet my family. Family, meet my brother Jake, because Jake had been right. Finding her biological family didn't diminish the family they had created together. It just made their family bigger. The episode, when it aired 8 weeks later, became the most watched Family Feud episode in the show's history. Missing children organizations reported a significant increase in families reopening cold cases and missing persons searches. More importantly, Mia's story sparked conversations about the importance of never giving up hope and the incredible strength of family bonds. The transition back to family life was gradual and carefully managed with professional support. Mia had lived independently for so long that adjusting to having parents and brothers again required patience and understanding from everyone involved. 6 months later, the entire family appeared on Steve Harvey's talk show to share their progress. The hardest thing to accept, Mia said during the interview, was that they never stopped looking for me. For 16 years, I thought I had been forgotten, but they never gave up. Carol added, we always knew she was alive. We could feel it, and we never stopped believing that someday we'd find each other. Steve learned something that day that changed how he approaches every story of loss and hope. He learned that some separations are meant to be temporary, that some searches are meant to succeed, and that family bonds can survive even decades of distance. Mia still lives with the Williams family in Phoenix, but Jake visits regularly and is considered a full member of the family. The Williams family formally adopted him 6 months after the reunion, making their found family official. Steve Harvey still keeps a photo on his desk from their follow-up appearance. It shows all 6 of them together, the Williams parents, their 3 children, including Mia, and Jake, all smiling with the kind of joy that comes from impossible dreams becoming reality. The note attached reads, Mr. Harvey, thank you for proving that families lost can be families found. Love never gives up, and neither should we, because sometimes the most incredible stories aren't fiction. Sometimes they're real families, real separations, and real love that transcends time, distance, and circumstance. Sometimes a game show becomes the stage where impossible dreams come true. The lost daughter had been found. The family that never stopped searching had been reunited, and the young man who had chosen to be family proved that love comes in many forms, all of them valid, all of them powerful. That's not just good television. That's the power of hope, persistence, and the unbreakable bonds that connect us to the people we're meant to love. because family isn't just about biology. Family is about never giving up on each other. And sometimes, after 16 years of separation, never giving up leads to the most beautiful reunions imaginable.